So today we're going to do something a little bit different. One of my favorite things here are personal accounts. They're the stories that the soldiers left behind, which tell us about their experiences during the war. And so I'm going to read to you from the diary of Samuel H. Fields. And Samuel Fields served with the headquarters company of the 143rd Infantry Regiment during World War I. He received this diary in September of 1918, and much of it is written in past tense, meaning he would go back when he had time and write about things that had happened weeks or sometimes months beforehand. So we're going to start on May 28th of 1918. The morning of the 28th, I left my darling Naomi and was mustered into the service at 10 a.m. I thought I had seen my doll for the last time for some time to come. My precious doll came over to see me, to see the one that she loved so dear. It was great joy for us. Still, we spent a miserable afternoon together, and all thoughts of our parting were breaking our hearts. When the train pulled out at Wolf City at 5:10, it found her in my arms, and I just could not leave. By running and bumping into several, I finally made it on okay. So that's him mustering into service on May 28th. So then he writes about training and what is going on with him. And then we're going to skip to where he enters into combat. Now the 36th gets overseas in August of 1918, but they enter combat on October 6th and 7th of 1918. So we're going to start on October 6th. On October 6th, we took our last lap for the front. From here on, I saw the real effects of the war by the numerous towns that had been torn to pieces. I heard the loud bark of the artillery and also the buzz of the Boche airplanes. Boche is the Germans, most all of the time. On the 8th, I saw my first real combat and my first real trenches, and they had only been vacated 2 days before by the Huns. Pieces of shrapnel and blood-stained clothes that decorated the ground. Some bouquets on the next lay, and I lay in the famous Hindenburg line. The devils were in such flight that they didn't have time to bury their dead. And it was then I saw my first poor soldier boy on the cold ground and shot to pieces. In my heart, I pitied them, just because they were humans and their folks would never know where they fell. A man will cuss them, and when he sees one of them in such an awful shape, he has come to say, "Poor boy, I may soon be lying in the same cold earth, in the same shape, but for a different cause." I had read about the line, the Hindenburg line, several times, but by seeing it, I got an altogether different conception of the thing. All the billets were underground and made of concrete. I suppose that is why they thought it appropriate or impregnable. It's hard to read the writing. But we busted up the playhouse. We discovered a place that they had for amusement. A piano and a bowling alley were all that were left. We stayed there all day and all night on the 9th, and then went into the lines under heavy shell fire. They discovered us that day by aeroplane, and believe me, they gassed us like nobody's business. Those GI cans, which are the artillery shells, were dealt us such misery and kept falling in holes most of the time. Rivers of shrapnel hit my pack and back, and the thing that did not keep us, 6 of them were bumped off in the next fire. Again, very hard to read. When we got to the front, I was a runner, the 1st Battalion, and I caught hell all the time coming and going, advancing by jumping from one shell hole to another and trying to camouflage myself so that the Hun could not take a direct shot at me. This stuff was the same all day and night. But the night of the 20th was one of the many exciting things. As I sit here relating them in my mind, they seem laughable to me now. So that's his first experience in combat. And then he stays in occupation duty with the 36 and through November and December, January. Here we have February 8th. We were given a pass to go to Tonneray to see the horse show. I went but didn't go to the wonderful show. I had my picture made for my Naomi by request. I ramshackled the town for something nice for her, but found nothing worthwhile. So he continues on, and his last entry is 2 p.m. when he arrived back. So this is June of 1919 when he finally gets home. So at 2 p.m., we arrived in Houston, were given a hearty welcome, and we passed in review at 4 p.m. Then they turned us loose to 11:30 p.m., and they gave us rides all over the city. And we also got a big dinner. And believe me, the fellows did justice to the eats. So June 11th at 2:20, we arrived in Bowie, and the whistle sounded off for quite a while. Many parents were there to greet their sons. And on the 12th, we turned in our equipment. And we got to go through our discharge, which took 4 hours and 40 minutes. But as it was for a good cause, none of us would have objected, even if it had taken all night. And so that is his last entry. And I did try and look and find out if he ended up and married Naomi, but I wasn't able to find any information. But I hope you enjoyed this little snippet of World War I life from Samuel Fields.